Hey, what is up everybody? Sean here, and today we're gonna be talking about my two latest investments that I've made that total $110,000. So we're gonna talk about what I specifically invested in, break down the numbers to see what it's gonna look like in terms of my return, and maybe over the next 6-12 months, what that's gonna look like. But in addition, and more importantly, I'm going to be sharing some tips and strategies on what you should be focusing on to allow you to quickly save money and really start building that financial dream for yourself. So if that sounds freaking awesome to you, hold on to your butts, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's hop into this. So about 3 to 4 months ago, I made the first of my latest two investments, and that was in a liquor store in Nashville. So my business partner and I were scouting around trying to find out what might be another deal that we could do. And we came across this wonderful business that was owned by a younger couple who was really looking to get out of it. You know, they had another child that they just had. It was very time consuming, and they weren't making the amount of money that they thought they were going to make for the amount of time. And so we saw this as a wonderful opportunity. We were able to purchase the business and the liquor for around $110,000. Now, for those of you who do not know much about the liquor industry, when you're usually buying a liquor business, there's two sections to this. You usually are buying the business itself, then you're also paying for the inventory. I put in 55, my business partner put in 55, and we decided to split the profits evenly. So we decided that I was going to pay them a 10% management fee. In addition to that, we would split the rest 50-50, and we both be 50-50 owners in this particular business. This was actually a pretty good deal because this business in and of itself, outside of the inventory, should be valued at least $110,000. So right off the bat, by making this investment, that $55,000 investment that I made is already worth $110 if we were to just kind of put it on the market and sell it today. But more importantly, let's talk about some of the cash flow returns. So based off the operations, the revenue that's coming in and stuff, we can both easily take a $900 distribution each month while still allowing for the accounts to continue to build. So off that $900 distribution, I'm looking at somewhere around a 19% annualized return. As a quick recap, my $55,000 investment immediately turned into just around $100,000 to $110,000. So that's almost a 100% return right there. And then in addition to that, I'll be receiving somewhere around a 19-20% minimum return, yearly, in addition to accounts growing and that as well. Now, the second investment that I made was actually a real estate property in Ohio, and it was a 3-unit apartment complex. Now, this is one that I actually saw quite a few months back, and I was analyzing the numbers, kind of going back and forth on it, because originally it was listed around like mid to high 60s. And looking at the returns and stuff and the amount of, and some of the work that needed to be done, I decided it really wasn't gonna be worth my time. Fast forward a couple months later, this house had dropped down to around $59,000. Okay, so let's run the numbers on this apartment to kind of see what my returns are going to look like and what this deal looks like in more detail. So this apartment is a 3-unit building. It's got 2 one-bedroom units upstairs and downstairs, and it also is a 2-bedroom unit as well. So my 1-bedroom apartment's gonna be running for $475, and then my 2-bedroom unit I can rent for $595, totaling an amount of $1,545 in monthly income. Now, of course, with it being real estate, I have other expenses and things like taxes, insurance, and maintenance on the property. So after kind of subtracting those expenses and doing my best guess and average for that, I should be landing somewhere around $900, maybe even around $1,000 a month in income. So on the surface, it looks like I'm making around a 19-20% return. However, 6 months from now is when the real deal kicks in, because that's when I plan to do a cash out refi. One of the biggest advantages of real estate is that you can leverage your money, meaning that you only have to put a small amount down. You can take out a loan, and what that allows you to do is actually get a much higher return on your money. Now, with it being a real estate property, I'm probably gonna have to keep between 25 and 30% equity into the property. But based on the comps and everything I'm looking around, this property at the bare minimum is going to comp around $60,000. However, I really do believe it's going to be comping somewhere around $65,000, $70,000. So if I were to do this cash out refi, it would bring on an additional around $200 a month loan, because now I'm going to have, somewhere between like 40 some, low 40s to high $40,000 loan attached to this, depending on where it comps. But let's look at some of the deals here. If worst case scenario, and this place only comps at $60,000 and I have to keep 30% equity in it, I will probably be cash flowing around $8,400 per year. and that will still have about an $18,000 investment, which still brings me somewhere around a 46% return per year. Now, like I said, that's worst case scenario. If this actually ends up comping somewhere around $70,000, that would mean that after a 30% cash out refi, I'd only have a $10,000 investment into this property and still collecting around an $8,400 a year income, meaning that I will be getting upwards of 84% return on this particular deal. And keep in mind that this is going to be steady over the course of the life of this property. Now, of course, I'm going to have other things like the roof repairs and stuff like that, but this is a really phenomenal return. So I'm super excited about it. You know, buying into this property, I already gained some potential value, probably I would guess between 10 and 20% on my money, just having bought the place under value. But overall, this is actually a pretty exciting deal that I think is going to pan out really well in the long term. So between these two investments, I'm probably looking at right now around an $1,800, $2,000 a month income pretty steadily. Of course, it might fluctuate a little bit, but overall, some really solid returns that I'm actually really excited about. Okay, so more importantly, what does that mean for you? Because while this is great for me, you're probably sitting here thinking, well, great, like I'm happy for you, but like I'm over here trying to figure this out. So let's talk about this for a second. I have a link below in the description box on how I managed to save $9,000 off of a $19,000 income, but I do have a few tips and things that I would focus on if I were you in terms of learning how to save money, make some more, and get those investments going. So the very first thing you want to focus on is budgeting and financial minimalism. One of the things that really helped me, despite having a low income, was that I really focused on living well below my means and making sure that I kept my expenses as low as possible. So in terms of your rent or your mortgage, you really need to be staying at somewhere between 25% or less. I know some experts say 33%, but if you're really wanting to start to save, you need to have 25% or less. Now, this might mean that you have to get roommates, you might have to rent out a room, you might have to move in with your parents, sleep on a couch, but those are things that I did. I slept on a couch for a year, I shared a bedroom with 3 other guys, and that was just a major savings for me. My rent was only $365 a month in Los Angeles doing this. The other thing I would also recommend is keep track of your food budget. For me, I managed to live off of $5 a day for food. And the way I did that was I created spreadsheets and would kind of map out cost per meal. And so I would usually do $1 for breakfast, $1 to $2 for lunch, and then around $2 to $3 for dinner. So, you know, usually averaging between $5 to $6 a day. This had an astronomical influence and ability for me to save money. I mean, think about it. I mean, if you're spending $10, $15 a day on food, that adds up quite a bit. So as you can see, budgeting is going to be super important. Living below your means is a super important process of helping you starting to save money, especially when you don't make very much. However, what I want to do is talk about a component that I really only started focusing on in the last year or two. And I wish I had started earlier because honestly, I think I would have had hundreds of thousands of more dollars over the course of these last 8 years had I focused on this. And that was learning to increase my income via a skill set. Something that I would strongly recommend is work full-time on your living and part-time on your wealth. So whatever job that you have right now, or if you don't have a job, what you need to be focusing on is finding a skill that you either have right now or one that you can develop very quickly that will pay you a lot more for your time. Now, this skill could be anything. It could be music, it could be a language, it could be, a sport, it could be health and fitness, it could be finances, it could be photography. But if there's any skill that you have, odds are there's someone that's willing to pay you to either teach them how to do it or for your services in general. So one of my recommendations would be get online, find different freelance sites, create some free Facebook groups, do some different things to start promoting your product or service. Find something that pays you 40, 50, 60 bucks an hour or more, which is more than likely a lot more per hour than you're making currently. Just having an extra $400 or $500 a month coming in, or even an extra couple $100 a week can have an astronomical difference in your ability to save and start taking those savings and investing it for your future. So if I was in a starting position, I was starting with $0, I would make sure that I reassessed my finances, lived and saved at least 20% of the current income I was making. And in addition to that, I would find a skill set that I would develop that would allow me to earn a lot more for my time. And you would be super surprised at how much money people make doing skills that you probably have, even copywriting. I was literally reading an article the other day about someone who does writing and editing for people on Fiverr and is making close to $300,000 this year. Absolutely astronomical. So find yourself a skill set that you can develop over time that will help you start making more money. Anyways, that's it for today. Make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment below on any key takeaways, maybe a skill set that you have, or where you're at currently in your financial journey, or any awesome investments that you've made lately. The stock market has been crazy. I've definitely been experiencing some FOMO with these like 2 and 3 times, within a few months on a few of these different categories. And I'm like, oh my God. But at the end of the day, one of the things I would highly recommend that don't get rich quick, get rich for sure. And I love investing for cash flow, especially when that cash flow has a high ROI, because it's stable, it's steady. It's not as sexy as, I bought this today and sold it for 3 times a couple months down the road. But you also got to think in terms of long-term longevity. Sure, you make a lot of money in the next year or two, but really true wealth is going to be built over the compound interest of 10, 20, 30 years. So make sure you keep that in mind. Anyways, be safe and crush it out there.